So hello and welcome to this Sunday Genlin Symposium session. Just to remind you again that everything is being recorded and you can choose to turn your camera on or off as you please. And also, please do not take your own private screenshots, but if you want to be in a screenshot that you can share later on social media, please stay behind at the end and we will do one together where people can consent to be part of it. So this symposium is a collaboration between the Focusing Institute's Genlin Research Center and co-sponsors, DePaul University, University of Iceland, Universität Koblenz, Kansai University. And we will be listening to Satoko Tokumaru today, and she will be talking about the internal structure of concepts in a process model. And my name is Vera, and Elaine and myself will be your Zoom hosts for this session. And please feel free to contact us with any technical questions. I'm handing it over to you, Sika.
Thank you, Vera. I am extremely pleased to introduce our next speaker, Satoko, who is professor at the Kaichi International University in Japan. She also teaches at the Tokyo University and Sophia University Graduate School as a teacher of Japanese, mainly for foreign students. She's a certified trainer at the Focusing Institute and has been applying thinking at the edge for educational purposes. In recent years, she has been developing TEA as a qualitative research method. She has a book out on it that is an absolutely pioneering work called Qualitative Research with TEA Steps, Thinking at the Edge, Theory and Applications. She also has a recent article out, A New Perspective on Creativity, Gentlin's Process Model. So I welcome you from Japan. I know it's late and we really appreciate that you are with us, and we are really looking forward to your paper.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation. I'm Satoko Tokumaru, the presenter. First, let me introduce myself briefly. I live in Tokyo, Japan. I am a lecturer and I teach Japanese as a second language at universities in Japan. I started focusing about 20 years ago, TAE, Thinking at the Edge, about 18 years ago. Since then, I have been reading Genlin's work, A Process Model. My colleagues and I translated it into Japanese. It was published in February this year. A process model is a difficult work to understand. In this presentation, I would like to speak as clearly as possible. It is not easy. I would like to share the contents visually by sharing screen. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, here. Okay, now let's go. Introduction. A process model is philosophical work by Eugene Genlin. This work, which took a long time to write after his major work, Experiencing and the Creation of Meaning, has been in dissemination since 1997 through private editions and was published by Northern Western University Press in 2018. In this work, while creating new concepts one after another, Jen Lin developed a model of how focusing and TAE, thinking at the edge, are effective for people. In this presentation, I'm going to try to show the structure of the concepts as an instance of understandings of a process model. At first, I would like to note that the framework I'm going to present here is what I have written in another paper in respect of artistic perspective. Okay. Gendering the theory in a process model is layered, with the upper containing the lower. The first layer is for living body processes. The second layer is for behavior. The third layer is for language and culture. And the fourth layer is for new symbols that transcend language and culture. A change from the lower layer rises and spreads to the upper, and a change in the upper develops in the lower. As a result, all layers always interact to each other. In this presentation, I'm going to focus on the word recognize. Generally uses the words recognize, recognition, recognize, recognition, and recognize, recognition. Focusing on these words helps us to understand the layered structure of his theory. Recognize corresponds to the first layer, recognize to the second layer, and recognize to the third layer. And interestingly, the fourth layer goes back to recognize. In other words, recognize corresponds to all life processes, recognize to behavior, and recognize to language and culture. And new symbols correspond to recognize. We will examine this in more detail below. Okay. Recognition. Recognize. Okay. Like this. Recognition in the first layer, body process. The body in this model is the body environment process. The body and the environment are mutually implicit. We inherit not only the lungs, but how we breathe, and not just the stomach, but how it digests and what food we can take. A body process is modeled as a whole process in which sub-processes interaffect each other. Every sub-process is a crossing of everything by everything. This is called everything. In everything, separation only occurs when there is a missing in some part of the interacting environments. It is felt as absence by the body. Everyone has the experience of being surprised by that step while walking. You were surprised because the ground that would have been there was absent. It can be said that the body knew implied what it should be. We can say that the body implies the missing aspect of the environment. The it that the body knows is called implying. The absence implies implying. When walking smoothly, a functional cycle is going on, and neither absence nor implying is felt. Only when the ground that the body implies is missing does the walking sub-process pause and absence becomes differentiated. The pausing process interacts with certain aspects of environment, resulting in a cooperative differentiation of whole processes. In most cases, the foot lands on new ground, absence is filled, and the whole process regains balance and walking continues. This encounter is recognition because it meets implying. This recognition of implying is rudimentary symbolic relation. Patterns. Before moving on, I would like to introduce an important concept, pattern, here. An environment interacting to a body is always changing, but there is a similarity. Just as morning and night are repeated and sunny and rainy weather are repeated, environments have a certain repetitiveness. Each one is a little bit different, never exactly the same, but similar. Only those organisms that have acquired new patterns that correspond with changing environments have survived. Implying is retained and inherited in the body as function to generate patterns, not as a concrete form. As long as a creature does not die, absence is focused in the direction of continuing life, and similarity arises in that direction. In the example of walking, the ground on which the next step treads is not the same to the implying as before. A new similarity is created during the pause. The sequence of similarities is a pattern. In everything, the way of sub-processes interact each other the mutual influence of processes is focused many into one. This is called focaling. Simultaneously, similarity is created and recognized as something sufficiently similar, almost the same, to implying. And the next step occurs differently from the first. If not, a creature will die. As long as a creature continues to live, the next move, one step, will always be formed. The next part is the citation from a process model, page 75. If a chemical that damages the cell wall is introduced into the solution in which certain living cells exist, the cells produce a new chemical which exactly repairs the cell wall damage. The cell does not need to adapt itself to the new chemical over millions of years. The very first time it ever forms in this chemical, it forms in a differently patterned way. Even the most primitive life process already has a pattern generating function. In the first layer, cells and plants respond to change their body when an absence is filled. When plants find water, they respond to grow their root. Okay, let's move on. Recognition. In the second layer, behavior. The second layer is for animals. Animals have sensory organs. Gently says, animals move with modifying the whole body perception by sensory perception. This is a behavior, second layer. Talking about cells and plants, they don't have sensory organs, so they don't have the second layer. The first layer is common to all living processes. Animals also have the first layer. As a result, behaviors are always related to body processes, first layer. This is called doubling. For a cat, for example, the absence of nutrient intake, first layer, motivates him to capture a bird, second layer. The cat keeps the bird steady in front as an object and chases it while reconfiguring its perception of the violently passing wind and trees. Animals recognize prey in the second layer behavior and recognize nutrition in the first layer body process. The cat cannot live without eating prey, even if he captured it. The process is always finished at the first layer. It's called consummation. Consummation is that event which is both behavior and body process resumption. Animal behavior involving two recognitions is schematized as recognition. because of the doubling between first and second layers, the behavior space is constrained by the body structure. Many animals cannot drink while running. The way how behavioral contexts are constituted is called a cluster. The behavior space is a mesh of related clusters, and the clusters are always reconstituted. Okay, let's move on to the third layer, recognition in the third layer, language and culture. Symbolic process. Species members are an important environment for life processes, and organisms have an innate ability to know their own species. Plants are pollinated and bear fruit within species, first layer. Animals search for a species member, second layer, and complete mating and reproduction, first layer. In some species of birds, a mating dance precedes copulation. A simple movement, such as spreading wings or hopping, which is unique to the species, invites them to mate. This repetition of slightly different same behavior, second layer, is called virgining. It does not promote reproduction, first layer, during virgining. The cessation of behavior and the cessation of body processes are doubled between first and the second layer. A somewhat different body look and sound in one create in the other body a somewhat different connection of body process and therefore different body look and sound. If a pattern of similarities is formed between two birds, third layer, the behavior of mating, second layer, occurs, and the body process of reproduction, first layer, is consummated. The scheme that has developed recognition in the body process, first layer, and the recognition in behaviors, second layer, develops into recognition, third layer here. A pattern is about a behavior context because a pattern of body look is doubled with a behavior context. The small changes in body looks, moves, and sounds come very close to being something like symbols, in as much as their small occurrence drastically shifts the behavior context, which is to say that they mean so much more than they are, in that certain movements are more than just movements. However, animals are merely behaving, not expressing anything. Okay, pattern themselves. Here, I would like to introduce a concept, patterns themselves. Among animals who live together in the same territory, there is typically a social hierarchy. In certain species of monkeys, a monkey with lower status avoids fighting by showing his back to a monkey with higher status. If this behavior does not occur for some reason, a dance sequences by a threatening gesture between two bodies. A dance is a burgeoning of gestures. In highly developed humans with complex social lives, the relationships between individuals are even more complex, and the contexts in which individuals interact are not easily carried forward. They are burgeoned. Gently infers that dancing humans suddenly had a moment in which they felt they were dancing. They had a feel of the feeling. Human beings, for the first time, have a level of aboutness. For humans, objects such as other species, animals, plants, and things are always doubled and come to exist at the level of aboutness. Moreover, since humans, being of the same species, can be carried forward by the same pattern. When multiple humans gather and one makes a gesture toward a certain object, the others on that spot are also carried forward. They are looking at the individual. They are carried forward by just watching, not by having their own body effect makes an effect on the other body in turn. Patterns carry forward not between two bodies, but between body and pattern. Since body look as a whole is already a pattern, Genlin calls these new patterns themselves. Excuse me. Okay, thank you. The object comes into human pattern space, while the behavior space is a mesh filled with clusters and constraints of interrelationships. The pattern space is freed from these influences. Patterns themselves can be freely formed. The space patterns themselves move is called empty space. Once the pattern themselves had developed, the various sensations were differentiated to be sound, vision, or movement. Okay, let's move on to language. Gentling infers that dance moves away from being onomatopoeic of the context which it derives from, and it comes together due to the familiarity of the patterns themselves, and a new pattern arises and a cluster is created. This is a kind. New patterns are created to version and create our living situations in new ways. Gently says that culture can be defined as the structure of situations, the patternings of human interaction. The first words long ago were syllabic units. However, Gently infers at some point the interaction context between people became too wide to be fully versioned by a new sound. The new sound remained in the context in which the sound was then occurring, and only the contexts in which the sound collected was restructured. When the next move occurred, the first bit of sound that remained in that context emerged and became a word unit. New sound forming ceased. Gently says the new mark context is developed to mark distinction between the collected context, this context, and a bit of sound becomes a sound part in its own right, something that can recur as itself, something that can be both its other occurrences and these occurrences. Language, situation, and body are linked into one system. New sound formation ceased, and words began to work with other words, not in terms of sound quality, but in terms of the system of other words and sequences which the word implies. Each unit must first have its own effect, and only then do these effects build to a whole that modifies the other. One responds to the meaning one has expressed. So, systematically, it is recognition. It applies to the achieved meaning. Importantly, there is a much wider organismic order, neither constituted by patterns nor collected by words. Okay, let's go to the fourth layer, direct referent. Transcend kinds. The fourth layer arises from the current culture forming impasse. Gently took an example of Isadora Duncan, who opened up a new field of dance. Gently cites Duncan's writing. Duncan stopped dancing and stood still for a long time, paying attention to her bodily feeling. It is interaction with a right feel, a new kind of feel which will come in a new place. She stood still, was seeking, looking for, waiting for, the right feel to come, willing to let it come. The new kind of feel comes. The body process physically meets something differently. It can surprise. There are remarkable changes, and only after some seconds is there then a distinct datum. Are these the felt sense, the direct referent? It comes, something has gelled, fallen into place. A direct referent forms, falls out. The direct referent is a new kind of expression that is fundamentally without words. Each bit is a new kind of bodily sense of what one just was, and one finds oneself carried forward. Gently says, to define this sequence, our old notion of recognizing will fit again. Something that is done is an expression. When the body responds to it by finding itself carried forward farther, and in so finding, the environmental effect is recognized by the body as a rendition of what it just did. Each bit of body feel also implies the next bit of body feel, which will carry the whole complexity forward, carry that whole relevance forward. A direct referent is like a symbol with regard to the whole of the symbolic human interaction world. Insofar as relevant in this situation or concern. Gently says, the self corresponds to the space and object. The body feeling as direct referent is now the object, the perception, whole body perception, the specific facet of the environment. The body implies the whole new kind of environment, the whole space under the much larger order. In this respect, the doubling here is again twofold. The space in which the direct referent forms is in one sense empty, and in another sense all of the bodily implied complexity which is being burdened. So the new space is empty, in that complexity is not literally here, and yet that complexity is more fully carried forward. Once a direct referent has formed, what one can do in the new space is also different. Duncan, who got this, was able to dance from there. Duncan's dance is an instance of movement patterns through her direct referent. In any field, each work can be an instance of the direct referent, and by sequencing new patterns, it expresses the much larger order implicitly. Human beings can feel the much larger order that transcends existing culture forms and develop them as patterns themselves. Moreover, it is possible to give each other physical effects of patterns themselves. Physical effects can be further developed as patterns themselves in any individual, in any field. Conclusion. In this layered model, all layers are constantly interacting with each other. As far as this theory is concerned, the desire for transcending existing kinds, such as cultures, arise from body processes and are consummated toward the body processes. The whole process is based on the pattern generating capacity of all life processes common to cells, plants, and animals, including humans. Furthermore, in humans, the capacity to generate pattern themselves functions both implicitly and explicitly throughout the process. Focusing on TAE can help people to feel fulfillment of the absence of the body process, which implies a much wider organismic order and goes beyond existing words or cultures. Okay, at the end of my presentation, I would like to share my slide. Just a minute. Okay. Okay, I will open my PPT slide. Okay. Yeps. Okay. Okay. Jenlin's multi-layered theory has 4 layers. The first layer is the second layer, the third layer, and the fourth layer. The first layer is for all living processes. They have a capacity to generate patterns inherently. A body is constantly interacting with its changing environment. When there is a missing aspect in the environment, there is an absence in the body. Body processes generate patterns and fill absence in the first layer. They recognize, implying their whole body perception functions. In the second layer, animals behave with modifying their whole body perception through their 5 basic senses. Animals move and catch prey in the second layer and receive nutrition in the first layer. There's a language in the third layer. Humans recognize what they expressed in language and let it resonate with their needs. When appropriate patterns are created, the language expression are modified. The fourth layer is fundamentally without language. Language is implicit. Humans feel the fulfillment of their needs embodied process in an abstract way. They instinctually recognize that there is something bigger in the nature order around them. This is the theory of patterns themselves. Okay. Focusing and TAE facilitate this process inherently. Thank you for listening. Okay. Thank you for listening. Yeah. How many? We have some time for your comment and questions.
Yes, we have about 13, 14, 15 minutes, Satoko. I first want to thank you for this wonderful interpretation of very complex aspects of a process model, and have presented it in such a wonderful, meditative, performative, and clear way. Thank you.
Thank you for saying so. Yeah.
And now we have time to discuss this work, this amazing work. And I also congratulate you on having translated a process model into Japanese.
Yes, it was a big work. Yeah, my colleagues and I finished. Yeah. Yeah. I have a book here. I won't let you. Yeah, it's very thick book. Yes. Japanese book. Yes. Can you see it? It's very thick and it's very expensive. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Any questions?
Yes, we have a question in the chat from Deborah. Deborah, would you please like to say your question or comment?
Yeah, it's I find this work enormously interesting, and I really appreciate how clearly you went through what you were proposing. And it just, I'm less familiar with Genlin's philosophy, excuse me, but I am familiar with the complexity model and how systems that are complex dynamic systems, such as we are, move through never-ending patterns of chaos, differentiation and linkage between systems, and the systems are required to soften through permeable boundaries, and then moving always towards complexity. That's what this reminds me of. But thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for your comment. Yeah.
Do you know if Genlin was at all familiar with the complexity model?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, that would make sense. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, the next in line is Meg.
Hello, thank you. I really appreciated your slow pace, and I found it really very, very interesting.
Thank you.
I do have a main objection, though, about you reading the first step. as a matter of pattern recognition. To me, it is a matter of anybody being able to recognize nourishment. So it is a very concrete step. The cell or the baby is able to recognize the mother's breast. So that stage for me is not a stage of pattern recognition. In APM, Gendrin always writes quote unquote recognition for the first stage, because he thinks that that's more of an observer, external observer, what an external observer would say of the process. And he also says that for the body, there is no recognition, because the resuming of the body process, it's always fresh and new, and it has an excitement in it that does not imply, does not involve a past that can be recognized. Yes, that's my main objection. And also, I'm very clear that for animals, he says that the animals cannot recognize patterns, that the picture of a cat on a cardboard for the cat does not, that the cat would not be, is not able to behave with a pattern as a pattern. It always behave with the image as something very concrete. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, the process is very generative. Yeah, because all creatures have capacity to generate patterns. Yeah, it's very generative. And yeah, but talking about a cat, generally says the border between animals and human beings are gradation. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Generally says that the animals living with people have
implicit language in them.
Implicitly, yeah, yeah, it's a gradation, yeah. And everything is very creative, very generative, I think. Yeah, thank you for your comment. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any comments or any questions? Oh, I would like to introduce my friend, Miss Oshima. She can help me for my English. Yeah.
Yeah, I will do my best. I'm a Japanese too, so yes, but I'm here to support Satoko.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that's great, Oshima. Now we have Evelyn Fendler Lee. Evelyn?
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi, Satoko. So first, also, thank you so much for this presentation. And I would love to have the paper, or is it available, your paper?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, because there was so, I guess I need to go back for many things. But, and it also, I always thought, Gendin has, with a lot of concepts, this kind of progression, like with feeling, object, and it really encourages me to really think about that more. So thank you so much. I have a very specific question, or just so it was pretty at the beginning. There was you said recognition of implying is a rudimentary symbolic relation.
Yeah.
Can you say more about that? Because I think I missed.
Yes, it's very difficult for me, but it kind of generally said like that. Rudimentary, symbolic. Yeah, I think recognize that life body process means implying recognize our bodies have already had something in it, not in concrete way, but it is very flexible. But something is in us, and we meet that, recognize it. It's symbolic. Mm-hmm. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Can you, is that in the process model where he says that? I'm really curious about it. I'm also, I made, because you said, he is saying that it's a symbolic relation. I'm just was wondering if, there is something about these functional relationships between symbols and experiencing. So if there's a connection to that, so it's somehow for me a fresh thought. I did never stumble around that. So thank you. Yeah.
It is a very important point. At the beginning.
Yeah.
I
Thank
think
you.
Very fantastic point. We have something already in our body, and body process recognize. When we recognize, we create something simultaneously.
I just, a further question, what's just coming, because then the felt sense, the direct referent, it's a symbol, we are kind of let come ourselves. And that seems kind of meeting also that expression, that which is also an implying, and it meets that something which forms the symbol in some way. So I don't have it clear yet, but really, there's something about that.
We create patterns when we recognize something. If he creates a unique concept as maybe first universality, second universality, third universality. So first universal, and the pattern is the second universal. The first universal are implicitly in the process, life process. And when we make pattern, first to second. Sequences.
In applying, kind of in.
I can't say it in English well, but
we have a couple of more comments in the chat.
I'm fine. Yeah. Thank you.
So
thank you so much.
Because we don't have much time, I would like Donata and Luke and Deborah, to phrase their, if you, Donata, could begin to maybe.
I don't have any question. I'm just thrilled about this paper and the clearness. And like Trevor Moore, I also want to have a copy and read it again. But there's an interesting question by Luke.
Okay, Luke, are you there? Well, maybe I'll just read Luke's question. He says, I am interested, you can see it here, Satoko. I am interested in whether there were any terms or phrases in Gentlin's process model that were hard to translate into Japanese or didn't exist in existing Japanese words which you needed to invent. How did you approach this? Since many of Gentlin's phrases are difficult to understand and created freshly in English.
Actually, do you know Genji, Tale of Genji? It's very old Japanese story. One Japanese woman wrote 1,000 years ago. I read it it is very complicated story, and I read it again and again and again, hundreds of times. That experience helped me a lot to read a process model.
Wow.
Yeah, very complicated structure are very similar. Mm-hmm. I think both works came from that direct referent. It's the way something comes from the direct referent. It's my image, my experience. Thank you for saying so, Luke. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. This is so interesting. How this story helped you translate.
Yeah. Tale of Genji. Tale of Genji.
I hope you write about this.
Tale.
This is so interesting.
Miss
Yeah.
Tale of Genji. Tale of Genji. Maybe it's correct. 1,000 years ago, one Japanese woman wrote very long novels. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then I think Deborah asked if Gendlin ever discusses non-locality.
Mm-hmm. Very universal, I think. Very universal. Mm-hmm. Any questions?
Say more about that? Can you say more about that? Non-locality, what he said about non-locality. I didn't quite get the response. I thought you were saying.
I cannot hear you clearly. Over solely implying itself non-local.
Non-locality.
Locality, yeah.
Do you know if he wrote about that or talked about that? And if so, where I could find that reference?
No, never.
Okay.
Never.
I'm sorry. Can I say something? Luke can help us with the title, but the non-locality is discussed in Gendlin Lemke paper about quantum physics. He has a very clear model against the standard model in quantum physics. And if you want to know more about his own interpretation of quantum physics, you have to go back to this 1980s paper, Lemke, Gendlin Lemke, and you can find it in Gendlin's library. I think they are okay. Okay, I'm sure Vera as you, is it that Vera that you have shared? Well, yes, a critique of relativity and localization. So there you are.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
And perhaps a very, very last comment by Mai Marushik. Mai, do you want to read it? It's in the chat box.
Okay.
Sure, I can read it. It was just something that came to me as I was listening to the whole thing, because Evelyn asked, it was something about how does it know, how is it already inherent to it that it recognizes itself anew and it can organize itself according to any recognition, any new recognition, it organizes itself accordingly, and it recognizes itself that it is itself, because that everything that it can be or can become or has been is always inherent in anything, because it's this one system, one whole that there's no outside of, because it's immanent. So there's no outside of it. Any idea of outside of it is a creation inside of it. And is this anything of it that includes everything, because everything is in anything. And then it's continuously recognizing itself anew, because that's just the nature of itself. It knows itself as itself by being itself. Being is self-awareness. I just wanted to pose this additional comment, It's by a channeler called Bashar, and I was looking for it, and I can read it out loud really shortly. I think it fits. It says, consciousness is self-awareness. It is the first reflection of all that is of itself. So it knows it is itself. So in that sense, I say anything includes everything because everything is everything. And in that way, that was my comment. If this makes any sense, Evelyn, like in...
Evelyn?
Well, I think, Satoko, would you like to make some final comments? We're over the time now.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for coming to my presentation. And I am very happy to meet you. And yeah, I will be happy if I can continue to discuss about a process model and Jinjin philosophy. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. And thank you for your comments. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Satoko.
Thank you. Thank you.
You.